My name is Mary Cassian. I hope you've been enjoying reading and studying Girls Gone Wise. I want to give you kudos. You deserve a big clap for making it this far. We're getting really close to the end of the Proverbs 7 story, and if you've been following the blog and reading the book, you'll probably agree with me that Proverbs 7 is every woman's story. Perhaps it surprised you to see some of yourself in the pages, because all of us have wild aspects to our character that need to be tamed and brought in line with God's Word. As the Proverbs 7 story wraps up, we see that the wildness in this particular woman's life interfered with her ability to make relationships work. She'd probably burned through a series of relationships prior to getting married, and then when her marriage got rough and wasn't what she expected, she reverted back to her familiar pattern. For many a victim she laid low, and all her slain are a mighty throng. Proverbs 7:26. In other words, she had had a series of guys in her life and in her bed. Her heart was like a revolving door. One guy after another passed through the door. Maybe a couple of them stayed longer, but inevitably each relationship broke down. She was unable to sustain the relationship long term, and her marriage was headed toward the same fate. This revolving door pattern is so common today. I see very young girls, even 12 and 13-year-olds, entering into what they call a serious, committed relationship. And when that relationship breaks down, they go on the prowl for the next serious, committed relationship so that they can log on to Facebook and alert their Facebook world that they are in a relationship. It's not uncommon for me to minister to women who reach their early 20s who have already had 5 or 6 or 7 serious, committed relationships, most of which have involved sex. I read a statistic a couple of months ago that said that on average, it's estimated that today's young woman will have a total of 11 sexual partners in her lifetime. She'll have a consecutive series of monogamous relationships, serial monogamy. One guy through the door at a time, 11 times. She'll hook up with guys, live with a couple of them, and maybe also get married a couple of times. And today, this is a commonly accepted pattern. Many people argue that it's normal and that it's even healthy. But in reality, the resulting spiritual and emotional and physical carnage in a woman's life is profound. It's as though each broken relationship damages a part of her spirit. Sustainability. Her ability to nurture and sustain a relationship is the 19th point of contrast between a wild and a wise woman. Wow, 19. Can you believe it? We have come a long way. A wild woman gives her heart and her affections away far too quickly and to the wrong kind of guy, and she repeatedly gets burned. And there are lots of reasons why this happens. Sometimes a girl is packing around a father wound because her dad didn't love and affirm her or wasn't present in her life, and she looks to guys to fulfill her need for a father's love. Sometimes she just didn't get the right training and instruction, the right parenting. Sometimes she has deep insecurities and she looks to for her source of self-identity. But regardless of the reason why, once this pattern starts, it's really difficult to change. A survey of the literature reveals that any premarital sex or cohabitation, even when it's with one's future spouse, significantly reduces the chance of a future successful marriage. The statistics are actually staggering. So if you've been in an emotionally and physically intense relationship, a serious, committed relationship, and that relationship fails, your chances at failing at your next relationship are much higher. It's like you applied a piece of sticky tape and ripped it off. So it's not going to be as sticky next time you apply it. That's the way it works. And that is the bad news. Now, the good news is that Jesus Christ has given you everything you need for life and godliness, and that with Him, you have the power to change this revolving door pattern, and you can change, and you can be a different woman tomorrow than you were today. This 19th point of contrast could really have been divided into two related points of contrast. We've already talked about sustainability, but another point of contrast that's evident in Proverbs 7:26 is the wild thing's lack of respect. Not only does she disrespect God's pattern for relationship, she also disrespects men. The narrator points out that she's a manslayer, a male basher. She cuts him down and lays him low. She uses the guy, she tears him down, hurts him, and usually hurts herself in the process. She's not a builder, she's a destroyer. And Christian women aren't innocent of this sin. I'm astonished at how often I see the haughtiness and the contempt with which some Christian women treat men. All too often I hear, even in the church, I hear women tell jokes about guys and mock and criticize them and put them down, and just say negative things about them, put down their male friends, their bosses, their husbands. And sadly, the church is filled with man slayers, men slaying women. Instead of building men up, we attack them, destroy them, and bring them down. We use the sword of our tongues to lay them low. Disrespect is one of the main reasons relationships break down. Can you imagine how much better your relationships would be if you treated your male friends and your husband with respect and didn't lash out to wound them? If instead of criticizing and complaining and whining and demanding that he lives up to his responsibilities, you took care to ensure that you lived up to yours? Wise things nurture and grow their relationships. Wild things behave in such a way as to destroy them. They shoot themselves in the foot, and they tragically cripple and sabotage the very thing that they hope to gain. The sage father observed, "The wisest of women builds her house, but folly," that's the foolish one, the wild one, "with her own hands tears it down." How about you? Are you building your house? Or are you disrespecting the ways of God and foolishly tearing it down with your own hands? Why don't you take some time today to pray and evaluate how you need to change and to ask the Lord to give you power to do so? I know He will. No matter how difficult it's been for you to sustain relationships, He can help you change your heart and your behavior. With Jesus, things can be different tomorrow than they were today. Thanks so much for joining me for this book blog, and thanks for hanging in there. We've just got 2 left to go, so make sure and come back as we finish up our study on how to be girls gone wise in a world gone wild.